I'm David Marsh. Welcome to Exploring the Human Journey.
Exploring the Human Journey.
I have been seeing Jeanette for the last 5 years, and it has been an incredible journey. With each session, more and more depth and insight is revealed. Jeanette is a spot-on communicator with spirit, and she is the real deal. She is genuine, and she is so in tune. I have seen many psychics and energy workers, and in my experience, she is the best. And I can say that with complete certainty. If you are on your journey and you're awakening to the possibilities within yourself, if you are searching for something more, then please make an appointment directly with Jeanette. She can help you just light the fires and see yourself as you've never seen yourself before. And she's utterly incredible.
Hi and welcome. I am so glad you joined us this week. Last week, if you tuned in, we had Jeanette St. Germaine on, and we had a wonderful conversation. We talked about light, we talked about energy, we talked about the understanding of all the meaning of life. We talked about it all. If you haven't seen that episode, stop this one, go back and hear the first one. It's super important. You need to know all the stuff that Jeanette knows. So today, we're going to continue on a journey of conversation, and we're going to give some presence to sacred feminine, sacred masculine, sacred sexuality, bliss. If you're offended by sexual things, then you're going to love this episode. So give our viewers a little bit of presence. If this is the first time they've tuned in, who are you, what you do, just give a little presence about who you are, kind of a recap of last episode.
Okay. I'm Jeanette St. Germaine, and I help people connect to who they are deep within themselves, to that divine light that is all that they are.
Yeah. And you are a spiritual being on a spiritual journey. You're part of the divine. You're not separate. We talked about that. Oh my God, please listen to that episode. So in your work, boy, something that's really important is the Sophia energy. So give kind of a light recap about, oh my God, the Sophia energy, the universe that we're in. You blew my mind with that.
Well, my perception of the universe and Sophia, that's just a name that we have, and it's the creator or creatoress of this universe. So,
okay, first of all, when you say that, I was given that biblical narrative. God's a man. You're like, yeah, no, she's not.
Pretty much. Yeah. Well, God is goddess, and goddess can't create without the masculine.
Yeah.
So it takes both in partnership with each other, and that's been my understanding. Like I have a whole vision and energies that I work with that show me, you know, that's my truth. But and Sophia is the creator energy.
Birth children, and you physically understand how that functions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, insert dumb joke here. Yeah. But so you've got the masculine and the feminine energy. Now, in the godness, it's like the all, but there's polarities. Give presence to that. So
Sophia is a creator energy that basically had a dream of creating a universe of contrast, polarity, a universe where beings could exercise free will and have experiences that would range the full gamut of the possibilities of creation. So when we say there's infinite possibilities of anything we can be or do or whatever it is just in this world, I mean, there's such a large scope of that just if you talk about the level of creation. You know, creation is constantly creating itself over and over again because we're making free will choices. We are merging together with each other. We're coming apart from each other. There's these energies of separation and unity, energies of duality and high and low, light and dark, all of these energies. And it's part of the oneness of this created universe.
Yep. To understand what light is, you have to have the contrast of darkness.
Yeah.
Tall, short, whatever the spectrum of binary duality is. Yeah. So you have a masculine and you have a feminine. Do you have any presence as far as why it was set up where there's two entities that need to merge to create a new? What was that construct? I mean, I don't know. It's a weird question. Why are there boys and girls? That's what it comes down to. But there's not really any third. There's just two, and the two create a one.
Oh, that's so interesting that you said that. The way that I perceive it is there's actually two that come together that create a third.
Oh.
That energy of unity that is created when two come together is a third energy. Mm-hmm. And in the scope of spirituality and soul evolution and waking up to the truth of who we are and what we're doing here, my understanding is that energy that's created during union is the Christ consciousness. It's the unconditional love energy.
Wow. And so give that presence then. So if you have the man who's Ron and the female who's Susan, and Ron and Susan come together, they make Ron Susan, and that's the third. Is that what you're saying? I mean, what's that energy like?
It's not so much that they create another energy that is them superimposed. They create a third energy that is an expression of love. So that third energy, it's like a child. A child can have aspects of its parents, but a child is its own individual essence. When you have two people that come together in relationship, you have an energy of the relationship that is its own essence.
Oh, wow.
Very different than an individual's energy. So
okay,
it's a third energy.
Again, mind-blowing. So put that into terms of this three-dimensional human sexuality.
Okay.
So boy meets girl, girl meets boy. They like each other. They start hanging out. Next thing you know, they have a sexual thing. There's an opportunity for new life to be birthed from that, i.e. babies. Explain how energetically the 3D and then the spiritual world work together with attraction and sexual energy.
Well, in my understanding, in my experiences from the work that I do, when we have the energy of source, it's the energy of that union, that's coming together everywhere all the time. So all these energies in the creation space are constantly merging and coming apart and merging together again. It's like this dance of light all the time. And as they're doing this dance of light, they are creating through their merging process the energy that creates worlds, creates universes, creates creation, right? So
you say it so like, oh, this is just the way it is.
Well, yeah, it's kind of a vision, and then I get it. I'm like, okay, I don't really question it. So at that level, that's a macrocosmic space, right? Well, everything that happens at a macrocosmic level also happens at a microcosmic or microscopic level, right? So it's the same kind of energy that we have in the creation space we have here in our human space. It's an energy of creation. So we are gods and goddesses and little sparks of light running around in physical vessels that have an energy that is created through lovemaking or sexual union. And the energy that's created through that can create new life. And it can be a baby, it can be healing a physical body, it can be manifesting a new job or abundance in your life in different ways. There's a creation spark that happens. So it's not just a physical baby. It's any kind of creation.
And so I've heard that we each have a polarity of masculine and feminine. Sexually you vibrate more towards the gender that you're typically the gender that you're at.
It just depends.
Feel like I'm masculine myself, but then I hear people say, well, the creativity is a very feminine energy. And I'm like, oh, okay. Does that mean that I'm creative and I have feminine energy? Then, the ego's like, you're a dude, but what is that energy like, aside from the ego construct of the macho man? I mean, what's that? How does that energy work within each individual person?
The way that Spirit has shown me to describe the masculine and feminine energy is the masculine energy is a force that can make things happen in a physical sense.
Oh.
The feminine energy is the inspiration, is the muse. It's like the artist's muse. right? So the feminine is that energy of creativity that comes in, and usually it's love. So through a process of love and adoration, a male energy is inspired into action, into building buildings and a home and creating in life, because he's inspired by this energy of love that comes from this feminine understanding or energy. So you have that inside yourself as well as in relation with each other.
And so every being, every person has a masculine and a feminine polarity.
Yeah.
But there's a difference in one might be higher in the specific gender. Is that, I mean, in a normal heterosexual relationship, there's one more dominant in the gender.
Right. Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is, boys are boys, girls are girls.
Right.
But yeah, I have gay friends that they might have a polarity or a resonation of a feminine energy as a man. And so it's not necessarily a gender, it's an energetic resonance.
Yeah. Your gender is different than your sexuality. They're different things, different constructs of our experience. So I think that each soul chooses whatever they want to experience. So, hey, if my soul wants to come in and experience being female, but maybe my predominant soul energy up until this point in other lifetimes has been male, I might have a more masculine view of the world, even if I'm in a female body this time around. Or my soul will choose to express itself in different ways. So it just depends on the soul. Really has nothing to do with your human biology.
Okay. So in our soul journey as spiritual beings, we've had many different experiences, either as a man or a woman. Is that what you would say then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you choose that. Some don't. Some choose predominantly, one or the other. But it's just a construct of the human experience.
Yeah. So everything is a construct. We talked about that in our previous episode. The construct of a relationship, and I need you to complete me. Well, I learned about A Course in Miracles, and they talked about a special relationship where the old Jerry Maguire, you complete me. And that was, what a great movie.
No,
but what it did is it let people have a sense of like, oh no, well, what if I do something wrong, then I don't complete you, and then there's a shame-based thing there. So give presence to that in a relationship.
Yeah. That's what's really interesting about relationships, and as we move into sacred sexuality, because we're in that third dimensional energy where I'm me, you are you need to complete me, you need to make me happy, blah, blah, blah. And as we shift out of that into a more evolved awareness of our infinite nature, then we move into a state of we're all one. So we're already complete in who we are, right? But we're in a society where we have that idea of you complete me, or I'm not whole without you, or whatever that is. And it creates all kinds of problems because people need to be whole within themselves in order to be whole in a relationship.
Oh, that's so good. Every single love song you hear on the radio is about baby, you and me, against the world, and it's just us. And now we have true love forever and ever. And it's like now I'm complete and I'm whole because I've got my special loved one. And until another one comes by, and then you're like, ooh, look at her. And then now there's conflict. And So to talk about that relationship paradigm.
It's really interesting because when I've experienced the energy of Source in near-death experiences or in meditations or in the work that I do every single day, Source is pure love. There's no ownership, possessiveness. There's no one way or the other. There's just love everywhere all the time. It's all consuming. It is through every part of your being. There's not even words to describe it. It's agape, right? Love. And love is an energy. It's not based on a person, place, or thing. And it's really interesting as we move into these relationships where we're more evolved. I've had personal experiences as well where, I'm married. I have this third dimensional paradigm of what marriage is and monogamy and family and all those things. And when I met my husband, there were certain things that we did together or certain things he did or didn't do that I liked or didn't like. And, you go through this process of falling in love, right? I recognized him. I knew him as a soul, somebody that I traveled with before, but I wasn't immediately like, yeah, let's get married and have kids and build a life. I had to get to know him, right? To fall in love with him. Now, shift that to a fifth dimensional experience of a relationship. I see a picture of someone that I've never even met, and I see light in their eyes that looks like God, and I'm completely, all-consumingly in love with them.
Mm.
And there's no logic, there's no explaining it, it's just there. And it doesn't matter if I am ever in a romantic relationship with them or not, it's just love. And even if I tried to shut it off, I couldn't.
Wow.
Even if this person was completely wrong for me in the relationship sense, it's just there. That's love. And the idea that if there's this love that I have for this other person, but I can't be in their life, I would still want them to be happy. That's a fifth dimensional energy as well. The third dimensional is, well, if you're not in my life, then I'm not going to be happy. Or I want you to be miserable if I'm not with you. Right? That energy. So it completely shifts when you move into relationships that are seeing the soul, seeing the divine within each other. And then you move into energies of what's in resonance, what's not in resonance. That's where you have ones that are actually a match and ones that aren't a match. It doesn't mean that we love someone more or less. It's just what is a fit or not, right? Energetically, wherever we're at.
So you
I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you're doing great. Thank you. So you're raising consciousness through understanding a role that you play in our three-dimensional construct. How do you deal with tearing down the constructs of monogamy, or tearing down a construct of it's just, one person? How do you tear down the construct of a fear-based without opening yourself up to pain and suffering and ego control? How do you let go of a construct and still remain conscious?
You have to be very clear on your intentions. I think that if people are saying they don't want to be in a monogamous relationship simply because it's based in lust or in something that isn't fueled by love, you have to just be conscious of that and accept that or not accept it, right? You choose it. And then if you are wanting to experience love in these different forms, have the intention be love. For me, it's just intention. I wouldn't purposely try to hurt someone else by my choices. But if someone else gets hurt by my choices, as long as my intention was pure, I'm not responsible for how they perceive my actions. Does that make sense?
So the ego is really important. It's what it's this little.
Keeps us safe.
It's this.
Safe.
The safe. It's this shell that we carry around, saying, "Okay, I'm going to be safe and secure, and these are all the things that make me who I am." And the ego's job is to convince us it's real, when really it's an illusion. So we are the all. We are love, pure, unconditional love. But the ego allows us to have that experience of not being that, so we can have this human experience. So when you're in a relationship with someone and you see someone else that you want to have a connection or a relationship with, or you want to experience novelty with, and you're in a construct of it's just monogamy and we had wedding vows and until death do us part, how do you let go of that and move into a conscious space through sacred sexuality?
You have to be willing to let go of the 3D consciousness and shift your vibration into a lighter state that isn't about control and holding energy back. Whenever I tune into the feminine energy especially, but creation energy in general, it's love, and love flows. So if we put a rock there or we have our fists like this, love can't flow through that. But if we say, okay, I'm just going to allow this to unfold and be what it is, love flows. And it's really that simple. It's just a choice that you make. And it doesn't mean you have to stick with that choice. You can change the choice the next day. Like it's a flow thing. And if it feels right, great. If it doesn't, great. Like, why do we put all these judgments on ourselves? With sacred sexuality, so I guess I should explain that a little bit too. I believe, at least in my experience, that we have, sexual energy that we have with our partner, or if we choose to have a life partner. And that is, the sexual energy is there to build a relationship, to build intimacy, to release stress from your day to day. It's a different kind of energy when you start moving into sacred sexuality. And you can have it with the same person, or you can have it with other people. It doesn't matter. But sacred sexuality, in my understanding, is where you're running the energy of creation through you, the energy of the divine, that spark of God source that you are, and you're choosing to unify it with another person. So you're amplifying exponentially the creation energy. So you can do way more with 2 sparks of God energy than you can with just 1.
Oh.
Right? You can do more for the planet, for healing, for manifesting, for healing childhood wounds, whatever it is. You go into a state where your goal is the pathway of spirituality. Your goal is the experience. It's not, I'm doing this so we can have a relationship outside of this that's all about monitoring our 3D lives. It's a different kind of energy. It's the sacred is a very important word. You know, you go into this experience of, yeah, there's a physical element of sexuality, but that's just one little piece of sexuality. I mean, the whole last episode, we were talking about energy and vibration. And sacred sexuality takes you into that place of energy and vibration that is source inside of you and then expressed outside of you and within you and above you, below you, everywhere. You can go to the divine through this pathway of sacred sexuality. You know, at least that's my belief system.
Yeah. So the bliss of the orgasmic state that you can get in when you're with your loved one and you're having that sexual experience, is that an equation to what it's like in the God state? I mean, like, because I've heard people say
it's like a drop of water.
Okay.
Well, it depends. Okay, so there's like thousands of different kinds of orgasms. What kind of orgasm are you talking about?
Yeah, caveman orgasm. There's like one. You know, I tell people I do everything really fast. Just ask my wife. So, eat fast, I sleep fast. You know what I mean? Use your imagination.
Yeah. So there's so many different ways of running energy and the way it expresses itself. So caveman orgasm is like a fingernail on a hair. You know, it's compared to what is possible. But yes, that is the entry point or the understanding of what it is in that place of bliss. Yeah.
So there's a Kundalini energy. Is that similar to what you're talking about, running with a sacred sexuality?
Yeah, the Kundalini pathway is running your life force, running your chi through your energy system. And it can be through the physical body. And then as you get really good with your Kundalini, you can run it through all of your energy bodies as well. And you actually have over at this point, over 33 chakras that extend all the way up into a source connection point with your higher self. So if you're running energy, it's not just, you know, to your head and back down again. It's way high up. That's where you start using energy. In certain forms of sacred sexuality, it's almost like the bodies get in the way because the energy becomes so fast and pure and high vibratory that it's like the physical bodies, the denseness, it becomes cumbersome because it just becomes light and merging. And that ecstatic dance that I was talking about, that's all that source is.
Oh, speaking of ecstatic dance, I mean, that's an actual thing. People physically, is that, do you integrate energy? Is there sexual energy there you integrate with that? Yeah,
anybody can. Yeah. It gets you into that primal, raw place of energy where you let go of all the egoic constructs, right? And you get into the flow.
That is incredible. So part of my journey is to let go of fear, whether fear is part of a religious context or a political persuasion, or even in relationship with Sweet Lady Gail, we're trying to let go of fear. And so we're examining, is monogamy, is that a fear-based construct? And then I said, well, what are the benefits of it? There's so many benefits of monogamy. There's safety and comfort and security. And I'm like, oh, that's very egoic. So but yet I like that. I like that comfortability. And so now we're looking at everything. We're re-examining what is this human experience? What is that like? What is a connection with another person? And so that's something that we'll you know, sacred sexuality, that's been coming around into my consciousness. Tell me more, you know, so I wanted to hear more about that experience. Is it a physical practice? Is it a spiritual? I mean, do you just meditate, or is it actually physically having sex with someone?
Both.
Okay.
Whatever you want it to be.
And so give me some tactile, you know, what does a sacred sexual practice look like?
First, it starts with becoming aware of yourself, becoming aware of your own energy. And like that quote, you complete me, that kind of thing. You have to be whole within yourself, because when you move into sacred sexuality, you are practicing releasing the ego, the I, the individuality. Yes. So in order to do that, you have to know who you are within your human experience, in your vessel, in your life. Have a very clear understanding of who you are, and then have a clear understanding of who you are as an energetic being, as a soul. Then once you've gotten to that place where you're like, okay, I like myself, I love myself, I'm cool with this whole thing, then you can open up to another person that hopefully is in that same place within themselves.
Yeah.
Once you move into sacred sexuality, you are peeling off all of the I. It becomes the one, the we, the one, the us. And so you go into this merged state, or you have the ability to, if you choose it, a merged state where you basically become goo. You become nothing and everything all at once. So you go into that place, pure ecstasy, bliss, rapture, however you want to describe that, enlightenment, nirvana, etc. And then you have to come out of that back into your human world, right? This is where people get mixed up because they go from this individual one, into the individual one again.
Oh.
And it's really discombobulating. It can be, unless you're very solid in who you are and you love yourself and you don't have all these crazy well, now they're not with me, because you have this core wound separation thing that starts happening every time.
Yeah.
So you have to be treating it as sacred. It's not, let's just go, have lots of sex with lots of different people because I'm a human and I want to have that experience. Great, you can have that experience, but don't call it sacred.
Yeah.
When you move into sacred, you move into the energy of the oneness, of God, goddess, unification. And there is something about the monogamy and being with the one person, because you do have that really deep connection, that intimacy that you've built for however long. But there's levels of oneness, even within sacred sexuality. There's levels of oneness that you can achieve with certain people that you can't with other people, because they're not in vibrational resonance, or they're not close enough in your soul makeup, or whatever it is. There's lots of things to that.
So, Scott, no, I'm making sure I'm not
I don't know if
interrupting.
I'm answering your questions at all.
No, you're what? What are we talking about? You're
Okay.
doing great. So then there's the construct of till death do us part. And I'll never have eyes for another. I'll stay with you forever. And I've heard so many people say that as their parents had aged and they'd been together for 50 years, that they were cold and they were angry because of, I'm with the old ball and chain. And, sweet Lady Gail and we've decided we never want to be in a position where we're like, I feel like I'm with you again. And, first thing in the morning, you're like, you're still here. We want to have a very loving, conscious relationship. And then we're deconstructing the fear-based construct. Well, what would that be like to have another energetic meeting with other people? And then we're like, whoa. And we feel the ego and the fear. Oh, well, what if she's with another person? Well, how does that make me feel? Oh, and I had just even the concept, mental gymnastics. I had the concept of, ooh, she's with someone else. Oh, what if she leaves me? Oh, and I felt this fear and this panic and anxiety, and I went, oh, wow. And I let that vibration just move through me. And I didn't want to hold that energy, but I literally had to smile and just go, okay, that's the human experience, the fear of the ego. I remember feeling with the ego, just like, oh, if she leaves you, oh, and then, all the litany of things.
What's going to happen to you then?
Exactly. But I was like, that's merely a construct also. And then there's so many loved ones that people have been together for a time, and then someone cheats on the spouse, and they cheating on the spouse, and then all the pain and the suffering, and those are all constructs that we've created for ourselves, which end up being our prisons.
Right.
So I'm now looking at, well, what is it like to let go of that fear-based construct? How do you have that conscious sexuality between loved ones and yet being able not to have to hold on to the fear of that relationship? How can you let that go? Is that what sacred sexuality does for couples?
The fear comes in because there's something within the person that they believe on some level, even if it's subconscious, that they're not enough.
Oh, yeah.
It has nothing to do with the other person and what the other person does or doesn't do.
Yeah.
If you have an understanding of who you are and how amazing you are. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been communicating with the angels, and they're like, if you had any idea how infinite you are, the power you possess, these little things would just be like, just nothing. And that's not to downgrade the human experience, because we have that experience.
Sure.
That's important. But the understanding that Well, why would she leave you? Why would that even enter your mind?
Yeah.
Is there something wrong with you? Does she need to know something?
Ah,
Why
so
would she
good.
even think that?
Yeah.
If you're in a committed, healthy relationship and you want to explore other things within that relationship in a way that's loving and open and sharing and communicating everything, as long as it's in a space of love,
Mm-hmm.
we start having issues when we have to hide things and be secretive and think it's wrong. We start assigning right or wrong.
Yep. It's back to that shame-based concept
That's
of
not love.
you're not good enough and you need to be in here and, you know, one man and one woman before God and you know, that's just...
And people leave people all the time.
Yeah.
They
Well,
get hit by a car. They could, I mean, we are not guaranteed anything.
Yeah.
So the idea that if I don't go have this experience, then maybe my wife or my husband will stay with me, that seems ridiculous. They're not even related to each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard so many couples say, well, we stayed together for the kids. And then they hated each other and they were, you know, how can someone who's in a relationship with someone that they literally can't stand, but they're in relationship, what do you tell that person, that guy or that gal that's in
Leave.
Oh, yeah.
Make yourself happy.
Yeah.
I will not stay in a relationship if there's not love.
Yeah.
I don't care how many kids, how much money, how many years. None of that matters to me. If there's not love, I'm out.
Yeah. Wow.
So follow the love. If the love flows, great. If it doesn't, make it flow.
Yeah.
And whatever that means. If you can work it out with the person, if you have to leave the person, if they have to leave you. And that's the other thing. Sorry, I'm like thinking about this. In fifth dimensional relationships, where we are in that state of flow and breaking down paradigms, healthy couples take time together and they take time apart. They don't necessarily live in the same house all the time for 50 years.
Wow.
They travel in different places. They evolve at an individual level, and they also evolve in a relating level to each other. That's healthy. And there's a lot of judgment around that in our society. Oh, you took your vacation without your wife? That's weird. Why would you do that? Do you have a bad marriage? Right? And that's not the case at all, depending on the intention, right? But I am hoping moving forward that our society starts to move into that place of sacred relating, understanding that we are all parts of the divine and we're all getting to choose whatever experience it is. And as long as we're not trying to hurt someone else or infringe upon free will, have fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's so conscious. That's so good. A Course in Miracles has taught me, reading through that book or that text.
Yes.
I mean, it's very dense material.
Yes.
But that special relationship is something that the ego wants to hold on, whether it was, you know, whether it's a sexual relationship or if it's, you know, even with children or a work situation or something. When you hold that special relationship, you're saying that you're giving up your joy and happiness to make someone else happy. And they're not happy because you're doing that. You're not happy because you're giving up that authority, that control. And it said you have to transmute that special relationship into a holy relationship where you work on yourself, get yourself clear and get yourself healthy, and then you're able to give your presence to that other person. I thought it was so beautiful. What are the things when people come to you in relationship type of things? What are the things, how do you tell them? What are some of the techniques that people need to know about?
We really focus on self-love, you know, treating yourself as divine because you are. You know, they say the body is the temple. Well, it should be, right? And letting yourself feeding yourself nourishing foods, getting regular exercise, getting fresh air, getting out in nature, allowing yourself to feel sad when you feel sad and not having judgment around it. If I'm having a rough week, I go and buy myself flowers.
Oh, wow.
And I don't get mad at my husband if he doesn't do it. I just go buy myself flowers, like, because they make me happy. You know? That's the kind of thing I tell them to do. Focus on loving yourself, nurturing yourself. Get in a place where you're doing things that make you happy. If you love to dance, go dance. Well, what if my significant other doesn't like to dance? Who cares? Go dance. Maybe you'll make some new friends. Maybe you'll find somebody that does like to dance. And then you'll have a partner for dancing. Whatever. Why is
so good.
Why is this a problem?
I know. We live in a societal construct that says that you can't have health care with another person and you can't visit them in the hospital unless you're married.
So crazy.
And so then you have people that are of the same gender and they're like, well, we love each other. Yeah, but you're not a man and woman. You can't get married.
Yeah.
Those are all constructs.
Yeah, it's
Like, two
horrible.
people love each other. You know, I have a very good gay friend of mine that said his loved one was in the hospital. He couldn't go see him because they weren't legally married. And so, you know, those are rough constructs for people to deal in. So how do we move forward in consciousness and still have connection and still have love, but have the freedom of exploration, experiencing novelty? How do you put that in the thing? Oh, well, you're just, you know, operating out of lust. You just want to go bang some other person.
Well, you better know yourself really well.
how do you put yourself in that container of that?
Know yourself. Know your intentions. Be honest with yourself. If you just want to go have some amazing sex, be honest about it. Don't try to make it something that it's not. Don't say it's holy when it's not. And if you are in a relationship where you have that really solid foundation, I think that's important, especially if you're exploring polyamory types of situations. You have to have a really stable foundation with your primary partner. Like, if you don't, it just isn't going to work, because egos will come in, jealousy and possessiveness, it will come in. It's part of our human nature. And I don't care how conscious we are. But for me, like, I recognize when I'm getting triggered. Like, okay, that doesn't feel good. Okay, I'm seeing this about myself. And I can sometimes objectively look at myself and say, okay, where's this coming from? I'm feeling this. Oh, this is fascinating. Okay, this got triggered by this. And this is coming up because of this childhood thing or whatever it is. Because I practice being conscious and aware of who I am in each moment. I mean, I'm highly empathic. I have to know where I start and someone else because we're merging all the time. But just being very conscious. You're not going to have somebody that is just looking to sow their seed and have some fun talking about sacred sexuality, typically. There will be some that try to come in and manipulate energy, and they may have a very strong sacral chakra, and they can pull certain situations to them through manipulating energy, and that's not sacred, but you have to be aware of that and know where your boundaries are. And in your relationship with your significant other, if you are opening up to those other experiences, having really strong foundations. And I mean, for me, the experiences I've had, I would open it up to everybody in the situation has to have conversations. Like, it can't be, oh, we're going to go do this thing and you go do your thing, and then we don't really talk about it. Because triggers will come in, ego will come in, curiosity will come in. So you have to have an open, safe space to discuss whatever's coming up. And then it can work. It can be really beautiful.
What are some of the benefits of letting go of the fear-based construct of a monogamy relationship and opening that up to, I don't know if it's polyamory or if there's another term? What are some of the intrinsic benefits of that? Because there's a myriad of pitfalls and ego constructs, but when you let that go, what are the benefits of having relationship or connection with other people?
Love. We get to experience love in a multitude of forms.
Quite simply put, done.
Yeah, I mean,
you just dropped the mic.
At least for me, like, as long as you're not looking to replace something inside yourself that's missing, you're not looking to fill some void within yourself or within the relationship. Love. As long as it's love, I mean, that's where the flow is. All the other stuff creates resistance. We're trying to create bridges, not prisons.
Wow.
And I also think that a really strong monogamous relationship, I mean, I have experience with sacred relationships with twin flame path, and that energy is very unique and specific, and it takes you to the beloved within God in a way that nothing else does. And so I have this belief system or energy within me that wants to have that experience of that oneness path. And so I've just been working with that and looking at that, like, okay, how is this oneness path showing up in all these different ways in my life? Not attached to a person or even an energy, but just love. How does this flow?
Now, I've heard that you're my soulmate, you're my twin flame, used in kind of a pop culture sort of
Yeah,
way.
it drives me crazy.
Right. Well, give some presence to what twin flame is and how that operates, because from what I understand, it's a very specific relationship.
Yeah. So soulmate, people have lots of different soulmates.
Oh.
Soulmates are here to help us on an individual soul evolutionary path or an individual soul experience. So typically soulmates are here that we've traveled many lifetimes with them. We've set up certain experiences to have with our soulmates, and it can be beautiful, it can be heart-wrenching, it can be whatever. Soulmates can be romantic, they can be our children, our mothers, our fathers, our bosses. Doesn't matter. There's not a romantic thing that you're my soulmate because we're together, right? And then we have soul groups. We have people that we travel with through multiple lifetimes, missions that we have to help mankind or help creation expand itself, whatever we decide. And then twin flame, this topic gets really in-depth and interesting. I'll try to summarize it. Spirit has shown me multiple pathways of even a twin flame. And anything that I'm going to say here is probably like blasphemy on the twin flame blogospheres, because nobody will believe half of what I'm saying. Oh. And that's fine. I'm cool with that.
Well, you're in a safe space here. Yeah.
But I believe that a twin flame energy happens when we were talking about the inception from source, right? When we leave source for the first time. Yep. And we can choose to be masculine and feminine within our individual consciousness. And then we separate again, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine. Every time we separate an aspect of self. Okay? Okay. As a soul, we become many souls, but we're still the same masculine, feminine balance within us. Okay. Yes? Many souls choose to separate from source that way. Twin flame energy happens when a soul chooses to separate from source and take all of the feminine and all of the masculine into two separate individual soul energies. Now, there's still some masculine, there's still some feminine. I mean, you can't have one without the other. There's still polarity, but there's more feminine on this side, more masculine on this side, okay? And so when they separate into more aspects of feminine selves, mostly feminine, more masculine, mostly masculine, okay? So it's a different way of fragmenting, for lack of a better word, the soul energy. And the soul chooses this because it's a way of experiencing creation. Oh, okay. It's a pathway. It's a twin flame pathway. Okay. Now, every soul chooses to have these experiences, chooses to evolve, to wake up or not wake up, or have this experience or not that experience, right? That's an individual path. A twin flame path, anybody that's an actual twin flame will have that individual pathway of evolution and experience. And they will also have an evolutionary experience that is based in romantic relationships that not everybody will have. And that energy is always seeking to find balance. It's always seeking to find its other. I say that loosely. Yep. Okay.
You complete me. Yep. There we go.
But it's like two halves of the same coin, but it's still its own coin. Okay. Does that make sense? And one of the ways that I've described this is like Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Okay, our religious structures portrayed Mary Magdalene as a prostitute and portrayed her as not even a disciple of Jesus and all these things. And through my work, I have found that Mary, in fact, was the beloved of Jesus, was his twin flame, and was a priestess in the temples of Isis, and knew all kinds of things about energy and transcending death and sacred sexuality and running energies in ways for healing, manifesting, to be in unity with the beloved that is the divine in physical form. So that's what that relationship was about. And the work that they did through sacred sexuality allowed the energy that was Christ to do whatever he needed to do on this planet, which to me was to bring love and transcend death and bring us back into an awareness of, hey, we're not just human.
Yeah.
Right?
That's good.
So when you have a twin energy, that's one way that it happens. Another way that I've seen it happen is two souls that have traveled for millennia together, that they are so in resonance, they're so in sync with each other, they're almost the same blueprint, right? They may choose a twin flame path together. So they'll choose the energy of the twin flame, which is the closest energy of union with God that you can have in a physical form. So they'll choose it and they'll become twin flames for each other.
Oh, wow.
So it doesn't have to be necessarily that inception from source and they chose it at the beginning. They can choose it through their process of evolution as well.
So it can happen along any
Along the way.
point in your lifespan then.
Yeah. And I don't believe everybody has a twin flame. That would be what the internet would say incorrect.
Ah.
I don't believe that. I also know personal experience that you can have more than one twin flame in one lifetime.
Oh, wow.
Which that's like not allowed apparently through these constructs.
So we got another rules construct.
I'm breaking all the rules.
Yeah. Yeah.
My twin calls me a rule breaker.
That's your
I was
rebel.
like, no, I make my own rules.
Nice.
But so with these energies, the twin energy is not about, like, soulmates come in and they're like, oh, we were going to have these romantic relationships. We're going to make kids and we're going to have a house and have jobs and blah, blah, blah. Twin relationships come into the human realm and people get really confused because they want the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids and the dog.
Yep.
That doesn't work with twin flame relationships.
Oh.
It doesn't exist. It can, but I think it'd be really boring.
Wow. So the life of the householder, so to speak.
The twin flame energy is about service to divine, is about service to mankind. So when you have a twin energy, it's this huge expression of love, right? And when the two energies come together, it's like supernova. And it's so much creation energy. They have to make stuff. They have to do stuff. They have to have some kind of purpose in the greater world.
Oh, wow.
And there's like this drive, like they can't even shake it because that's what they're here to do. The important part of their path is their service. It's not this crazy romantic relationship, which it can be, and it is typically, but it's service is the focus, not the romance. And people get all mixed up in that. They're like, oh, I want my twin. I want my Romeo and Juliet experience. I'm like, you know they died, right? Whenever somebody says that, I'm like.
Yeah, you know how the story ended, right? You know,
they both died.
Yeah.
But
so that romantic, romance novel sort of thing where my twin flame completes me, that's not an accurate portrayal of what it is. It's more of a service-oriented, mission-oriented thing.
Energy of it, the energy of a twin is polarity because you're the polar opposites of each other. So you mirror each other like crazy. I mean, trigger each other like crazy. But there's this unconditional love all the time. So like with a soulmate, you can trigger each other like crazy and then you end up hating each other and wanting to punch each other.
Oh, boy.
With a twin, it's not like that. It's just trigger, mirror. Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah. I've never had more spiritual growth than when I'm connecting with that energy because it's just like boom, boom. You have to look at yourself. You have to look at your fears. You have to look at your wants. You have to look at everything that's a construct and break it down and take it to the pure energy, which is love.
Is the twin flame a sexual or non-sexual relationship or both, or how does that work?
The energy goes sexual. You can choose to run it however you want. I can't speak for other people's paths, but and every twin path is different. We all have our unique way of being here and reason for being here. But typically, typically it's a romantic relationship. It's not like a soulmate where it can be your brother or your mom. It's a romantic because it's the union. It's that energy of the divine, that union, ecstatic dance state in physical form. And with sacred sexuality, you can learn, like for me, I've learned how to run twin flame frequency. I know it as an energy. So I can run it for someone. I can let them feel that energy. I can connect them to their twin if they're on a twin flame path, whether they're twins in the physical or in the etheric, right? It doesn't matter. It's just an energy. And it's really beautiful, powerful. You can use it for a lot of healing and take them into a union state. So they have that experience. There's other people that are coming in now on the planet, which is really cool. A lot of people that are holding twin flame energy, like I see a pillar of light around people with their auras. And so sometimes I'll see this twin flame energy hooked into the side of their pillar.
Really?
And so they're not necessarily a twin flame at their core energy, but their soul has so much love in it. They've decided to come to this earth and hold that frequency of love, divine love in human form. And then they're attracting these amazing love relationships that are holding twin flame frequency, even if the two aren't twin flames.
Wow.
Like I'm seeing all this really cool stuff. The universe is infinite. And the twin energy is here to just basically help the ascension of the planet. We need a lot of it.
Yeah, we do. So I can't help but hear the girl that is with a guy and keeps saying, Jeanette, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, but you know, he sits around and watches sports all day and drinks beer, and our relationship is a quickie before he passes out and goes to sleep. And then I hear the guy saying, hey, I seek this deep, intimate relationship, and she's always doing something else or watching, and you know, shows I don't care about. And then when I initiate a sexual thing, she's not interested. So I hear the yeah, but what you know, how do we give presence to the actual relationship? Maybe that, hey, you and me and white picket fence, and let's have some kids, and that period of life. How do you help people like that move into greater consciousness where they can be with that person and still create happiness where they're at?
They won't be with that person.
Oh.
Whatever isn't in resonance falls away. That's something I tell clients a lot when they come in for energy work or readings or whatever. I tell them, this will transform your life. Things will leave your life and other things will come into your life. So don't start this if you don't want that. I give them a disclaimer because spiritual work, it's not rainbows and butterflies and goo-goo eyes all the time. Not even most of the time. It's work to stay conscious and to allow love to flow in your life and to be cognizant of when it's not, and then also discerning of when things need to fall away. There's a divine timing element in all things. So I know there's relationships that fall away without you having to do anything other than just be in your own true energy. So if someone's sitting on the couch watching TV and just kind of in their 3D life and they're perfectly content doing that, and the other person's not, one goes up in frequency and one typically actually goes down. They don't even stay in that neutral place. They go down as one goes up. Because the contrast, there's a pull that happens. The contrast triggers them to fight more, to have this energy of resentment and things aren't going right. And then it falls apart. Every time.
And what about that person that has that feeling, but then they just recognize it's them wanting to be completed and fulfilled by someone else? How do they work through that process?
They complete themselves by, I mean, there's lots of techniques like journaling is probably one of the most powerful.
Oh, that's
like
good.
Journaling, because it really takes you into your own thoughts and your own thought process. And you can go back and look at a journaling entry from 2 months ago or a year ago and see growth, see that you're a completely different person, or see that you're in the same darn place that you were 5 years ago.
So
that's
good.
Very eye-opening, right? So journaling is a really important tool that I have found, and I use that with clients as well. But it's all about self-love. It all goes back to that thing. Well, what if she leaves me? Well, why would she leave you? What is there in you that you think is broken?
Oh man, that's so good. So what is that brokenness in us that want to be made whole, and we want to have that other significant other, you know, to make us feel complete? What is that? Is that just an ego?
It's totally natural. No, it's not ego at all. That is our natural divine feminine. That's the goddess energy. We are programmed to be interdependent, not codependent, interdependent. Everything in this world is connected to everything else. And as we move into that fifth dimensional energy, we feel each other. Like, I have this all the time, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I was feeling that person. What were they thinking? Okay, clear, right? Like, I don't want to be in their head. But we feel and we know and we're connected, whether we realize it or not, right? And that's the natural interdependency of energy, of life. It has to flow. It's not my body, your body, chair, moon, right? Everything's connected. So I forgot your question.
well, for the person that they're working in the office and, you know, the hot person comes in to their cubicle, and every time they do, they're like, oh, you know, because it's something new. It's the other that they haven't experienced. And then they go have an affair with that person. And then for a period of time, they're like, this is amazing. And then their spouse finds out, then there's brokenness. Then they go with that person because this is a scenario that happens. And then pretty soon they run into the same exact scenario. Now they're with that and they can't stand that person. And then a new person comes in. That's a cyclical chain that happens. What is it in relationship that people go in those cycles about?
There's something inside them that they're looking to fill up.
Yeah.
They think something's missing. And they're letting that energy be fed instead of looking at what really makes them happy.
Yeah.
If they're in a relationship where they're happy, they're not typically going to look at that other person. Typically.
Yeah.
If they do, they can have the conscious awareness about it to be like, oh, that's interesting. This interests me. Why does this interest me? Right? And really look at it versus, oh, I'm just going to go have this thing because I want this thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's just being conscious about it. If you're going to do it, be conscious about why you're doing it.
So good. In the yogic path, I've learned you are not your thoughts.
No.
You're the observer of your
Yes.
thoughts. And that really has helped me. I've been like, oh, I'm simply having a thought or I'm having an experience. Well, how can I learn or examine this thought and why would I be having that? And that really gives me that comfort to know that even in that thought realm, it's like, oh, well, it's just a thought. It's not who you are.
It's not you. Right.
You're the observer of it. So what are some of the things that you need people to know about relationships, sacred sexuality, masculine, feminine energies? What are some of those things that you deal with people and you're like, this is what people are craving?
Something just as simple as talking about sex. People, especially in this culture, are so afraid to talk about sex.
Yeah.
It's like you say the word and people are like,
Oh.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
The most divine, profound experiences that we can have in our human bodies is through learning to run the sexual energy because it is creation energy. And it is the most holy, sacred energy there is.
Yeah.
This idea in our society that it's somehow wrong or bad or to be shamed, I really wish that people would just kind of shift that in their perspective to see what's possible because there's love here that you can't even put into words. It's a sensation, an experience. It takes you home on a whole nother level. And if people are dissatisfied in their lives, 99 times out of 100, it's because their sexual energy is repressed.
Man. What about folks that are like, well, I don't need to have a lot of sex, whether they're man or woman, or the vice versa, the other one that says, I need a lot of sex, and their partner's not congruent with that same energy level. How do people deal with that?
I do a lot of energy work around just clearing blocks because sexual energy is flowing energy. And if you're feeling, typically in a relationship, if you're feeling supported, if you feel there's a lot of trust, there's not broken trust. If you have time where you make time to like have date nights, for example, like that's a big thing with me. Like I try to make date nights because I'm not just a parent with my kid. You know, I still have a relationship, or I should, right? Like that's the idea.
That's the idea.
So taking time for what's important, you, yourself, and then also the relationship. You have to feed the relationship. If you don't, it dies.
That's so good. What are some resources that people can learn from? Do you have resources that you offer?
I mean, I do client sessions around this kind of stuff. I'm stepping into some womb healing and womb shamanism, which is really, really powerful, and helping women heal from all kinds of different sexual traumas and getting their power back and learning how to be in a zone of pleasure instead of shame or fear because of what's happened to them or what they think's happened to them. So there's some really cool stuff if anybody looked up, you know, womb healing or even just balancing your chakras, you know, things about learning how to run energy through the energy centers, breath work, Kundalini yoga, anything that's about empowering the feminine, because I think our creation energy, comes from the sexual centers, especially as women. So, you
know, women are so, boy, they've been so abused by men, whether it was even verbally with catcalls or sexually as a young person being violated by a loved one, a family member. How does a female take the sexual energy that should be normal and flowing, but it's been repressed because it's been given a stigma of shame or hurt or icky? How does that person get out of that paradigm? Because so many women have had sexual abuse. It's such an awful thing that's happened to people.
Not only abuse, but even the way that we give birth in this country is horrible. and the C-sections, and there's just so much around that. The womb should be treated as sacred. It's a vessel of divine energy. It's a creating life, literally. And our society just doesn't revere it. And ancient cultures did.
Yeah.
They understood the power of that space in the body, and they understood that creation comes from there. And they didn't violate it or cut it open or treat it in ways that were, not sacred. So with some of the work that I'm doing, even something as simple as breathing into the womb, sitting with the feet, the bottoms of the feet touching with the legs open, like butterfly.
Oh,
knee.
sure, yeah.
And then just sitting and just breathing into the womb, deep breathing into the womb and tuning into the body. Women don't know how to tune into their bodies anymore. And having a conversation with your womb is a really powerful practice. And asking questions and breathing in energies of safety and acceptance, or even allowing an unhealed trauma from 20 years ago or whenever to come up and be released, be seen.
Yeah.
All of these energies get stored in there, and we just carry them around.
Yeah.
We don't even know. I wish women would take more charge of their cycles in a natural way instead of taking birth control or shoving things up inside them that are, not honoring that sacred space.
Wow.
But
what about the lady that can't have children? What advice do you offer for that individual?
There's all kinds of techniques for energy work to open up the channels. Whenever there's pain or something isn't working the way it's supposed to, it's just blocked energy. And it can be blocked from things happening in this lifetime, other lifetimes, core wounds, things get really interesting. But energy work, meditation, and they can always go the medical route, but there's lots of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, it's such respect for the female body, the divine feminine that ladies carry. We had 3 children, and our second child was our daughter. Her head was like this big around. Well, obviously I'm facetious, but it created such an amount of trauma to sweet Lady Gail when she gave birth to that child. I mean, physically, they got out the thing and made the space bigger. It was trauma. I was like, and so there's physical discomfort some people have to deal with. That things don't align, they don't work properly. Maybe there's been some sort of a hysterectomy or a bladder issue or something that's gone on there. So you're saying that there's energetic things you can do, there's meditative, there's breath work, there's physical, there's medical things that you can do.
Even if you have a partner that you trust, or even if you don't have a partner you trust, I've seen circles where women get together in sisterhood circles, and they'll do things for each other for sexual healing because they don't have a male that they would trust, right? And going through the experience, talking about the experience, or even just allowing someone to touch someone in an intimate way can be very healing and show someone that it's safe to go there. That's just these little steps that people take. Creating a safe space for yourself and being willing to go through the process of healing is very powerful. So if you can't do it with a man, do it with a woman, somebody that you love and trust.
Yeah, there's so much healing that can happen when we let those fear and shame and guilt constructs go, and we grab a hold of the love construct and say, what serves the best and highest good in relationship? That is so good. Okay, so it's been like another hour episode, which I literally think it's been like 10 minutes. You're a bevy of knowledge and information, a plethora of cornucopia of veritable goodness and light energy. So again, thank you for being here. Jeanette's website is JeanetteSt.Germaine.com, and the spelling of it's in the show notes. Go there and click on the link so you don't spell it wrong. If you spell it wrong, you won't get to her website. So people can find you and reach out to you. What are things that you can offer people with sexual healing, with energy healing, with life path, soul work? How do people get a hold of you?
The website has my email, phone number. That's a good way to get a hold of me. I offer all kinds of things with energy work, intuitive guidance, spiritual mentoring. I have a whole list of clients that we just come in and we talk about sacred relationships. And I help them on a path with soulmates or twin flames or whatever's going on, because things get really interesting when you start walking a spiritual path and don't understand unity consciousness, or why are these weird numbers repeating everywhere, or these interesting experiences people start having.
Yep.
So I just help them through that process.
Yep. Oh, that is so good. The synchronicity, the whole number thing was new to me. Now when 2:22 p.m. comes up, it's a 222. It's 4:44 p.m. And then every time I wonder what time it is. It's like one of those numbers. I'm like, it's an angel number.
And I can tell you what they mean.
Yeah. You're super good at that. So you guys, you need to reach out. Check out the website, look at the resources. Jeanette is amazing. She's a wonderful healer. If there's energy work that you've ever thought about having, contact her. She is awesome. I had an energy healing session that I physically felt about. We talked about the first episode. Go back and watch it if you haven't seen it. And so I give you gratitude for the light work that you're doing.
Thank you.
So at the end of this episode, I want to give presence to, if there's one thing I would have people know about their sexuality, about their feminine divine, their masculine divine. What is that thing that people can take away, that put action to? What is that thing that you want to make sure people know?
It's all about learning to love yourself. If you really want to be in a fulfilling relationship with another person, which everybody does, you have to love yourself first. And all of those voices in your head or voices from childhood, whatever it is that makes you loathe yourself at the deepest levels, even if you aren't fully aware of it, address it, look at it, call BS, and put yourself in situations where you are being just inundated with love. Because if you're not, why are you there?
Brilliant. Jeanette St. Germaine, once again, you crushed it. High five. Thanks so much for being here. I'm David Marsh, and you've been watching Exploring the Human Journey on YouTube as a video and listening as a podcast. If you would like to help continue the conversation, please consider supporting us by visiting patreon.com, where you can support us on a monthly basis and get extra bonus content. For as little as $1 a month, you can make this show sustainable and help continue spiritual consciousness. You can also help by following us on Facebook and Instagram. For more information about the show, find us online at exploringthehumanjourney.com.